guys, welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So I brought you in here in the kitchen for two things. First of all, the other day I was in Cullman, Alabama, which is a town not too far from here. It's where I go to get my nails done. It's where there's a couple of antique stores that I love to go to. And there's also a store that I love and I have shared with you guys several times, and that is Ashley Mercantile. Pardon the dog whining over there, he wants attention. So I happened to be at an antique store there in Cullman when my phone rang, and I answered it, and it was the owner of Ashley Mercantile who said, hey, we are unpacking boxes. We just got the biggest load we've ever had of that enamelware that I love, and I get so many questions about my bowls, my pans, and all of that. So he asked me if there was any color that I was especially interested in. And I asked him, well, what did you get in? He's like, we got in a ton of stuff. And I said, well, I just so happen to be about a block away from you, and I will be right there. And so I went in there. Sure enough, they had boxes everywhere that they were unpacking. They had tons of enamelware and pieces that they've never carried before, they've never had, I've never seen before. So I was pretty excited, and yes, I did come home with a couple of pieces. So this isn't a huge Mercantile haul, but I did get two things. And one of them I'm actually about to use to make dinner. It is an herbed lemon roasted chicken. It's got garlic. It's just super easy and delicious, and so I'm going to use one of my items in the process of making that. So of course, I'm sure you could guess it is a roasting pan. So this is the one that I'm about to use. This beautiful kind of a burgundy and cream colored pan. It's got your lid and the pan, of course. And so this is what I'm about to use to make dinner. Now that particular roasting pan, they actually got in I think every color that enamelware comes in. Black and white, gray and white, blue, teal, even yellow, and I almost got it in yellow, except I got something else in yellow. So this is their large rectangle roasting pan, and what's great about this one is the lid is also a pan. So not only are you getting a covered roasting pan, but you're basically getting two pans that if you wanted to, you could use for two different things. It's almost like two lasagna pans, except of course it's got that kind of corrugated bottom, which maybe you can kind of see right there. Yeah, so this was the other thing that I got. Absolutely beautiful roasting pans. Now this wasn't really an impulse buy because I actually did need to get new roasting pans. Every holiday season rolls around and I'm just looking at my pans thinking, I knew I needed to get a new pan, why didn't I get a new pan? And I just have to kind of make do. So it really worked out that the holiday season is here, and they got in beautiful roasting pans. And yes, the large one came in all different colors as well. So if you are interested and happen to be somewhere near northern Alabama, you can swing by and visit Ashley Mercantile and check these out. Or they do take phone orders and ship items, which I know many of you guys have called them, and they love it when they hear from all of you. All right, so I'm going to throw on an apron and we will get started with dinner. Alright you guys, so I've got my oven over there heating up to 450 degrees, and I've got a whole chicken right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pat this dry with some paper towels because I want all of the moisture off of the surface of the chicken so that my herbs and oil adhere to the skin well. So we're just going to get nice and dry. Dry off the back of it. Okay, let's go ahead and grab my roasting pan. And we'll set the chicken into the roasting pan. Okay. Alright, we'll set this aside for a few minutes. So now right here I have a dish with 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. To this I'm going to add a bunch of seasonings. So we've got about a half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of salt, now we're going to add some sage, and you would add about a half a teaspoon of this, but I've got some whole leaves that are dried, so I'm just going to kind of crush these up. About 2 leaves I think should probably do it. No, maybe 1 more. Alright. Now we're going to add in a teaspoon of thyme, dry thyme leaves, a teaspoon of dry parsley, and then I'm going to add in some rosemary, and on my website this recipe calls for dry crushed rosemary, but I'm just going to take some fresh leaves here, just kind of tear them apart and put them in, and again this would be about a teaspoon or so. Okay. So I'll just kind of stir these all together, mix them up. Okay, so now we've got our seasoned oil, our herbs, and all of that combined. I'm just going to set this aside for a few minutes. And now I've got some items that are going to go into the chicken itself. I've got a lemon, and I've got some fresh garlic. Okay, so I pulled off 6 cloves from the head of the garlic. I'm going to go ahead and crush these. Now, you don't actually need to peel these because they're going to go into the cavity of the chicken. So I'm just crushing them to expose the inside of the cloves. Now I do this all the time, so if you are nervous about doing this with a chef's knife like I am, you can just crush them with the bottom of like a coffee cup or something like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to take these cloves and put them inside the cavity of the chicken. And then I'm going to grab a lemon here. I'm going to cut it. Let's see. Sometimes, depending upon the size of your chicken, sometimes you could get 2 lemons in there. But really you're just going to kind of get as much in there as you can. So I'm going to kind of cram this up in there. I think I'll be able to get the whole thing in. Alright, so, we got the lemon in there. Let's move this aside. Wash my board off real quick. And actually, I don't want to waste this sprig of rosemary, so I'm going to pull this lemon out, this piece of lemon, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this piece of rosemary up in there as well, inside the chicken. And we'll stick that back in there like that. Okay. Alright, get my hands good and dry. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this herbed oil and we're going to spread it all over the surface of the chicken, and we're just going to coat the skin with the oil and the herbs. And generally I'll just kind of pour it all over it and then just slather it all over. Now if you wanted to, you could also kind of create a space underneath the skin on top of the meat and work some of the herbs up in there as well, or maybe some of the lemon zest if you wanted to do that. That's totally an option as well. Just kind of coat all of the chicken skin with the oil, and then that will help it get nice and browned. Alright, so last thing is I'll take the wings here and I'll just kind of cram the tip of the wings up underneath the body of the chicken. That way the tips of the wings will not burn, if it'll cooperate with me. There we go. That should do it. And now this is going to go into the oven for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes or so, or until it tests done with a meat thermometer, and for poultry that's 165 degrees. So I've had lots of new visitors here to the channel as of late, and first of all, welcome to all of you. But because of that, I've had a lot of questions about my aprons again. These aprons, I've got a few of them in this style, are ones that I sewed myself a while back. And when we first moved here to the homestead, I actually sewed a few and sold them on Etsy for a little bit. But that is not something that I do on a regular basis. To be honest, I don't really take pleasure from sewing. It's something that I can do. If there's something that I want, I can do it. For instance, I have some baby items I'm going to be sewing here pretty soon for the coming grandbaby. But it's not something I do on a regular basis. That said, I guess it was about a year ago, I filmed a tutorial on how to make these aprons, because you actually don't need a pattern to do them. You just need to cut some fabric into some simple rectangles. And so I took you through the process step by step how to make these. And I also filmed a follow-up video on how you can change the measurements and alter it to become more customizable to different sizes, like to make one for a child or something along that lines. And then I also added like a super simple step-by-step printable PDF to my website, and I have all of those, both of the videos as well as the printable version, all there on the article on my website. And so if this is something that interests you and you would like to sew one of these aprons, I will put a link to that down below. Alright you guys, so dinner is finished. The chicken turned out beautifully as always. So now I'm just going to let it rest for a few minutes while I finish up my side dishes. I'm just going to make some cheesy mashed potatoes and I think some green beans to go with it that I canned from the garden. And then that will be dinner. So if you would like to make this recipe, as always, I have a printable version of it on my website, and if you're watching this on YouTube or on Rumble, I will put a link to that down below. And I'll also put a link to the Mercantile that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So thanks for joining me here again in the homestead kitchen. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I will talk to you all next time.